I began to really see this when I was writing the book, as I was hosting my television show, Shalom in the Home, where about 50% of the young couples that we sought to help were platonic. In virtually every case, it's the husband. You know, we seem to have this belief men are so sexual. Their wives can't even keep up with that. That the wife famously says to her husband, "Not tonight, honey, because I have a headache." And yet the man can have an axe lodged in his head. And he's still ready. "Honey, are you sure that you want to have sex with me tonight? I don't know how to tell you this, but you have an axe in your head." And he'll say, "Oh, that's nothing." That's not true anymore. It's the men who aren't making love to their wives. They've lost their libido. They're not feeling anything. And the final statistic that has to make us wake up is the fact that, again, a Washington Post statistic, 1 out of 3 American women is on an antidepressant, Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil. Now, we're the richest, most prosperous society in the world. Why are these women so depressed? And the majority of them are married women. So we husbands we don't know how to make women happy anymore. We don't know how to get them to stay with us. So what is it about our inability to relate to our wives? That's why I do say that it is a modern phenomenon. This never happened before. In other words, when we speak about the 50% divorce rate in America, this is not a masculine phenomenon. It's not the men who want to be divorced. It's a feminine phenomenon. The women would rather be alone than be with this guy who is just broken.
I want to touch on some of the things you say in the book and get your response to them. And since we're on the topic of sex, I must say that on page 42, to be specific, you say, of course, all that has changed today. The conventional thinking today is that the husband turns to his wife at night and says, "Honey, how about some sex tonight?" I might suggest that any man who uses that line and can't come up with something more creative deserves to be in a platonic relationship. Moving on.
Touche.
Okay. In the book, you talk about men who delay marriage, putting career before commitment and the pursuit of wealth first, before family. Your opinion. Is there any chance that a man might consider getting married later because, one, for whatever reason, he is not ready for the responsibility, the greatest responsibility of raising a child, and that maybe this indeed should be praised, because instead of a child raising a child, as my father used to always put it, that for whatever reason, if a guy is in his early 30s, mid-30s, whatever the age, whatever the circumstance, that if that man is then ready for the responsibilities to do it, that's more important than doing it early on.
Okay, so let's go back just one moment. The main argument in my book is simply this. A great German philosopher named George Hegel said that the greatest human desire is to be recognized. He called it the thymotic urge. In our everyday parlance, everybody wants to be a somebody, nobody wants to be a nobody. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. We all want to be distinguished in some way, meaning we want to be special. The question comes down to this. For the modern American male, how does he become special? How does he distinguish himself? Will anyone give a damn if he does homework with his kids? No. Will anyone care if he's faithful to his wife? No. You interviewed Donald Trump. What's he famous for? Is he famous for his personal achievements or his professional achievements? We are prepared to continue to lionize him despite failure in his personal achievements, and I'm not judging him for them. I'm simply mentioning that we want to apprentice ourselves to him, to be like him, because today, professional achievement for men is everything. That's why these men don't marry. They refrain from marrying not because they're not ready. I mean, if you're ready to go and fight the bad guys in Iraq at 18, that's a far bigger responsibility than raising a child. You have men who are literally going to die if you make a mistake. You're going to fire on people, and if you make a mistake, you'll kill children. That's a huge responsibility. And yet, at 18, we believe people are responsible enough. You need to be 30 to be a parent. Besides the fact that what I normally see is those men who really delay marriage and delay parenting, they continue to be boys. Their maturity doesn't begin to sprout because necessity is the mother of invention. We become more mature when the opportunity calls upon us to be so. Why do we call the World War II generation the greatest generation? Was it because it just happened to be that over that 4-year period, everyone who was born was great? No. There was an international emergency. A guy named Hitler was taking over the world, and they responded to that call. Necessity is the mother of invention. They became great. All of us have greatness in potential form, but it's the confluence of that inner potential with external need that brings it out. So when you have a kid, it's like, you need a license to drive a car. Why don't you need a license to be a parent? It's a far bigger responsibility. You can damage people a lot more.
It's not a bad idea.
Well, I think the government controls enough things. I don't know if I want them to tell me whether I need a license to have children. The reason we don't get people to have a license is that we believe that when you have that child, something innate within you is awakened and you meet that responsibility. So saying I have to wait till I'm mature, I don't think that's accurate.
What have you seen, though, that leads you to the generalization that every guy who waits is just because of money?
No, I don't think it's only because of money. I think there's many circumstances. I think men today don't know how to commit to women. They're becoming more commitment phobic. Women are also becoming commitment phobic, which is interesting. I think the healthy society is one which slowly witnesses the feminization of men, meaning men become more domesticated, they like kids more, they like commitment, they like monogamy. We're witnessing the opposite today, which is the masculinization of women. What is Sex in the City? That all the women are going to see. Sex in the City is about 4 women who really are guys in a woman's body. They exhibit all the traits of a man. They're closer to each other than any man, the way 4 guys used to be. They have sex without feeling anything, sex without commitment, that's a masculine trait. They have huge commitment issues. I call them platonic lesbians. They're attracted to men, and they find sexual gratification with men, but they have no intimacy with men. That was a traditional male problem, right? Men would have sex with their wives, but they would really come to life playing cards with their buddies, and their wives always complain about that. You never want to be at home with me. So I'm not saying that men are refraining from marrying because they want to make money. It's the whole package. Men are refraining from marriage because being a good man devoted to one woman and making her happy is no longer the definition of a successful male. Once upon a time, that was part and parcel of being a success. There were many companies who, before they gave you a raise or a promotion, they would look at the kind of family man you were. Is he responsible? Is he disciplined? And a guy who, let's say, abandoned his family was seen as someone without honor. Now, that's out the window. As long as you can turn a buck, we don't care about your ethics. And I think that's the wrong message. I think it's harming us. And beyond it being wrong ethically, I think it's actually wrong personally. You see, at the heart of the American experience, and as you know, Bud, I begin the book by saying this, is this phenomenal contradiction. This is the great conundrum of modern American living that all of us refuse to address. How could we be, on the one hand, the richest society in the history of the world, with the highest standard of living, and yet we consume, another Washington Post statistic from the book review section about 4 weeks ago, yet we consume 3/4 of the Earth's antidepressants. So we are 1/60th of the world's population, and we consume 3/4 of the Earth's antidepressants. Rich, prosperous, successful, miserable, depressed, suicidal, it doesn't go together. Answer, all this money is not making us happy. Money is there to build a family, to participate in community, to do the things that really give you a sense of purpose. Like if I had not been born, the world would be missing something, because look at these kids who wait for me to come home. Look at this woman who smiles when I'm in her life. But when you just make money, you're a cog in a machine. They don't give a damn about you. If you were struck by lightning tomorrow, they would miss the money you didn't make for them. That's it. That's my argument. It's the personal relationships that give us stability and happiness. And because Americans only know how to produce and don't know how to relate, that's why we're so miserable and depressed.
That's uplifting. For the record, my wife cannot be here tonight, but I have a note.
Okay.
It says, "Dear Rabbi, my husband is not a broken American male. He paid me $50 to say this." Moving on. Something you wrote on page 89, which I was really curious about. Men are born undistinguished and unimportant. They are vacuous and empty on the inside. At least little girls are born pretty and with the power to attract men. I would say, as the father of a 5-year-old daughter, I would hope she has more qualities in this world than simply that. But where does the statement come from?
Okay.